Okay. Here we go. Trouble with OBS, but I think it's good now. Think it's good. Should be. Okay, so this is a long time coming. LODs. Just putting them off until they really became necessary. And now they are. So, I have the game right here, and Blender open. I've created two LODs just to get in the groove. There's actually 4 LODs for 2 items, that's what I mean. Each item has 5 states it can be in. The normal state when you're close up to it, and then the further away you get to it, the poly count lowers 4 times. You can kind of see with this blue tree right here. At about here it changes. It's hardly even visible, so it's optimized pretty well on that stage. The poly count actually goes to about 3/4 of the polys. And then the next stage is a little more visible, but you can't really see it on the ground because there's other stuff in the way. That one right there. And then that one. And then back here, finally about the time the shadow fade hits it. That's as small as it gets right now. And that drops the poly count in stages from 6,500 all the way down to just 578. Still pretty high, but I could lower it even more. But I want, that's about as low as it can go to keep the silhouette right there. The silhouette is about the same, the lowest poly count, because I want to be able to look across the map and see the trees, you know, their basic silhouette. I could probably shrink it down even one more stage, because that's so far away that it's not going to matter too much. All you really see on the top of that island out there is just kind of a mishmash of colors. So I should really lower it down one more, have 5 LODs, 6 states that it can be in. So I think I'll do that. Excuse me. I'll do this one first. Let's see. All you have to do is get your mesh and hit add modifier, decimate, put it down to like 0.5. That totally kills a lot of it. This one could actually almost be just 0, just totally disappear. But I'll apply that and save it. Okay, but you're gonna be so far away when it's in that state that, I mean, it's gonna be about that small. You're not gonna really even notice it. It's just gonna look like a little blue and green blob way out in the distance. But I want something out in the distance. I don't want things to just be just disappear. If you get far enough away from it, that would look stupid. Standing up on top of a mountain looking at the land. Gotta be stuff. Alright, so I'll save this as LOD 5. And save it. And then export it. Just the mesh. Change it to LOD 5. Depending on what you do, sometimes that changes automatically. Sometimes you have to hit it. manually. You gotta keep track of that or you'll not realize that you've saved over the wrong file. Let's see, now I can open... Hey Bart, how's it going? Let's go here. Decimate this down to 0.5. Maybe even more. Yeah, that's about as much as I'd want to. Leave a splash of purple and blue up, way out in the distance. It's going to be about that small when it changes to that. Let's see. I might have forgot to apply the modifier in the last one. I'll check that out. Save as LOD5. Save. Export. No, that one wants to stay LOD5. That's odd. I did the exact same thing. Alright, we'll go back to Acorn Bulb 5. Yeah, I applied that. Okay. I'll just minimize that. I'll go back to 3-wing bird tree. And here I have the LOD 0. That's just the basic one. That changes once it takes up 10% of the screen size. Then it changes to the next LOD. That changes... Well, it changes to that when it hits 10%. And then from 2 to 3, 5%. And then 2.5%. And the last LED right now is when it takes up 1.25% of the screen. And you can change all those to however you want. If you don't want them to change when they're too close to your face, too close to the camera. And to get another one in, you hit base LOD here, import 5. I'm going for Acorn Bulb LOD 5. Doing good, Bart. How are you? And open that. It's low poly, so that doesn't matter. And now I have to change the grid material. I don't know why it didn't load any of them. Bird trunk, bird blossom, bird leaf. It was adding them before. Bird trunk. You can also change the LOD down to have one material. So when it gets really far away, it'll all be the same color. You can take the textures off of it. That helps optimize it too, but right now these 3 basic materials aren't going to really... It's not going to make a difference if I change it to one material of the same color. Whoops. I think what I did there was I imported the whole thing. I didn't import just the textures for some reason, or export. That's why I had to reset all those. Or I didn't import just the mesh, I mean. Okay, and then I want to change that to... Oh, it's all fucked up. Nope, point. I get the build settings close there. Half of 0.0125, which would be about 0.06. 0.006. I'll do that. 0.006 is when LOD5 is going to show up. That's barely 100th. Well, yeah, 6th. Yep. Yeah, 6,000ths. That's pretty tiny when it turns into that one, but that's good because when it's really far away, it'll get really low poly count, just to 148. Well, that dropped stuff way in the distance from 578 to 148, which is actually pretty significant considering there's going to be thousands of items So right now, if I'm standing in a mountain and I see thousands of trees, each one of those trees has, 6,000 polys. This type of tree. And wait a second. Did I import the wrong one? I might have. It's not saying. I mean, it could change, but yeah, that's 150. This one is. Oh yeah, I did import the wrong one. Damn it. That's pretty funny. Doesn't show a preview of it. Alright. Redoing that. So it's actually not going to be 148, it's going to be about. Should be about 270. Confused. We'll get this going. Of course, it was smooth up until I started streaming, and now I'm derping. Let's go re-import LOD5. That's down here. Re-import LOD5. I want the three-winged bird tree LOD5. I think I grabbed acorn bulb before. If I didn't, I'm not sure what's going on. Yeah, so now it's 335 triangles. And it's still better. That put it down from 578 to 335. Could even make it lower, but we'll see. It. This is already kind of pushing it. I don't even know if I need 5 LODs, 6 different states. I have many dozens of items I have to do this to. It's going to end up being importing hundreds of LODs, but it's got to be done. This has to be bird leaf, so that's why it didn't import any of the textures, because they were the textures from the wrong plant. Alright. Now, as soon as you save that, you can just test it right in the editor. See, it changes to the first drop, and you hardly even see the change. There's another change. Another right there. And the last one there. Oh yeah, that might be too much. Completely changes the silhouette. So I'll probably make that about half that, 0.003. So it really only changes to the last super decimated one when you're so far away from it that you can barely tell. There, you can see some of them are switching now, but I'm so far up, it's ridiculous. You'd never be up there. One of the best views of the map is going to be from here. And that... You can see that tree just looks like shit. It's pretty close. I might change that to another half. Change it so when I'm up here, none of these trees are that decimated. But the ones up there would be. Because that's so far away, it just looks like a glob of stuff on top of that floating mountain. I'll change this down to 0.0015. Save that. See how it looks. It's still... Did I hit the wrong? I must have hit the wrong. Okay. Did something wrong. Oh. 001. No. Let's go 0005. That might be too small, where it's just gonna revert back. I think it would, though. Alright, That's a little better. Now that tree, you can see the full silhouette basically. And the ones out here are pretty low, and there, that now it changes. You can see these two right here flipping. Yeah, it's kind of obvious if you're looking right at it, but there's gonna be more trees around there, and the shading, once we get the shadows to work that far away, that'll look better. When you're up here, none of those are that small. When you're looking down there, basically never gonna see that LOD unless you're up there. But they are changed when you look this way. How that already feels like it's a little bit better optimized. Just after doing 2 trees. I mean, that did drastically cut the poly count. Hundreds of thousands of polys already. And it's going to be hundreds of thousands more once I do all the different types of models. I don't even know how many polys are in the map right now. Millions and millions. But it's just recently begun to cause frame rate loss. You can kind of tell from this view I only have about 20% of the map populated with trees. But by the time I do populate the entire map and get all the LODs done, there's going to be less polys being drawn at any given time than there is right now. Even when there's 10 times more models. It's the beauty of LOD. Okay, now I want to bring the acorn bulb one in. Add the 5th. This is acorn bulb 5. Open that up. And that one, for some reason, doesn't want... Yeah, because I've changed the colors in Unreal from what they were in Blender. The only thing I left the same was the leaves on this one, so I gotta change the grid material here to acorn bulb 2. And the stem is just material 001, which is kind of confusing because you can have many materials named the exact same name if you're not careful with what you import from Blender. So I have like 7 materials. They're a different color, but they're all named the same. I've cleaned it up and fixed it in some circumstances, but then I'd accidentally bring in a bunch more that are the same name. Okay, acorn bulb. Now let's see if that one works. This one, I might have to tweak the distance on it because it's a little more obvious when it changes. I think that already changed once. There it changed again. You can see that. I don't want too much of that. That's a really obvious change when you're in the game walking along. And those aren't so obvious. And then it should. Yeah, I changed one more time there when I was really far away. Alright, I think I'm going to tweak the change between the second. There's the second and the third. Third and the fourth isn't too bad. Tweak that a bit too. The second and the third and the third and the fourth. So like one, it goes to the second, 0.00. We'll go 2.5 here. Half of that. And then half of it there. It changed automatically. If you change the value of one smaller than the next, it has to push the value of the next one. We'll go 0.0 0.12. It doesn't have to be exactly half. 0125 would be exactly half, but it doesn't have to. That's just easier in my mind to comprehend it all. But it's about half the distance, so kind of exponentially backwards. And then half of that goes 0.006. That one's so small that it's not really going to matter on top of the mountain. That's the other thing you have to take into consideration, how big the mesh is in your map. You know, smaller things will naturally just go out of view earlier. Whereas something really big can be far away and it's more obvious when it changes. Not really, it depends on how you set it. Because it's not determined by distance, it's determined by how much screen size it takes up. That's why at the same distance, the bigger version of the same tree will change at a different time than the small version. That works a little bit better than having a big tree and a small tree change at the same time just because you got close, you know, got to the same distance from it. This goes by scale, not by distance. Alright, now that should be good. So, now that we got those out of there, let's go back to Blender. And never mind, I gotta figure out what the next tree is. Just going through the list. I have this many trees right now. And we'll do the alien willow. First I gotta open up the actual blueprint. This is the scripting for harvesting wood from it. Go to the mesh, find the file that it's linked to, open that file, and that's the file that you put the LODs on, the static mesh file that the blueprint is linked to, not the actual blueprint itself. Put this up here, I can just delete that. There we go. Why does that look different than the ones in the map? I believe I've changed the color. So let's go here. It might not matter. Yeah, just see what color this is. Really 2 triple and willow leaf. Okay. Really 2 triple and willow leaf. This is curly 2 triple. That's the second curly asparagus and 3 of them. That's why it's named that. There we go. Now the static is same. You like this song, Bart? It's from an old Harry Potter video game. Same guy that composed the Skyrim themes. Alright, I'll just save that. That's ready to put the LODs on, but I have to make them first. And it's kind of nice, you don't have to import them into a file first, you import them from the actual settings here. LOD import. So this is kind of starting fresh again. If you want to make LODs for something, you get the blueprint, or if you know where the that's not the blueprint. You get the blueprint unless you know where the static mesh is that the blueprint is referencing. But it's a static mesh you want to open up. And I need to get the LODs first. Let's see, that is called the Willow. Alien Willow. I could just have one of those. Alright, yes. And that one's a different color too, that's funny. Oh. Okay. Like I said, colors don't matter right now. Holy crap. Okay. And you have to be in object mode. Hit the wrench here. Add modifier. You want to go decimate. And for the first one, I want it to be 75%. So it's going to be different depending on your mesh, but 75 for the first LOD change seems to be good for me. Doesn't change the silhouette of it very much, just changes the wire mesh itself a little bit, simplifies it. The way that I have the game right now, where it's all hard-edged, flat, colored, low poly. Hey, thank you, actress. I appreciate it. It's a little easier to tell the change. Like you can see if you look closely at it when I hit X, you can see that the facets changed a little bit. But if you have smooth shaded stuff with textures on it that are pretty complicated, you know, have where the texture is really, you know, messy in a good way, that would make this change from this poly count to 0.75. It would make that change right there virtually unnoticeable because of the smooth shading taking away the facets, so the lighting doesn't reflect off the facets, and your textures would be covering up a little bit of the surface change too. But that's okay. In the future I will worry more about textures, and if I want to keep things faceted, super low poly looking. The style is gradually changing a little bit, but it will look mostly like this. For the most part, I think, with maybe some Warcraft-ish painted textures, but not so much. Speaking of Warcraft, Mr. Pandaria music. Alright, you have to apply this too. Don't forget to do that. If you don't hit apply, it doesn't take. And then save as Alien Willow. We'll go LOD1 and save in the Blender trees, and then I might as well export that too. Export FBX, just the mesh, LOD1, export. And then the next stage. You can go back to the original file and decimate it at a higher value, or lower value, whatever, but I'm just going to decimate the first decimation, if that makes sense. Have been going 75%, and then 50% of the 75%, then 50% of that 50%, and 40% of the last 50%, if you know what I mean. Kind of leapfrog instead of referencing back to the original. It ends up cutting the poly count a lot more, but it's not like you couldn't do that. I would just have to decimate this stage at like 0.325 instead of 0.5, basically, to get the same result. So decimate, we'll just go 0.5. Since it's already decimated, it's going to be even more than if I just decimated the first one by 0.5. There we go. Apply that, and save as LOD2. And export FBX, just the mesh, Alien Willow LOD2. So this one didn't change, so I have to do it manually. That's weird. And then we'll go modifier. Write this down. 5 is 0.5 of LOD4, which is 0.4 of LOD3. But it depends. Some of those values get changed depending on the mesh and what looks good. LOD2, we're going to LOD3, 0.5. Same thing, add modifier, decimate. 0.5 of this one. It's quite a bit more. I might actually go to 0.6. That's too much. There we go. We'll go 0.6. Apply that. Hey, Len, how's it going? And save this as LOD3. And export it as LOD3. And then add another modifier. So we'll go 0.5 on this one. A little bit more. That's good. That's going to be really far away when it changes to that state. Apply that. Save as LOD4. And export as LOD4. And then one last one when it's super duper far away. Oh, I might not have applied that last one. 0.5. And ridiculous. I go 0.6. Yeah, we'll do that. Apply that. Save as 5. And export FBX LOD5. I'm gonna double check 4. I might have screwed that up. I don't know if I decimated it. Or hit apply. Yeah, it did. You can just see him change here. So we got 1. That's actually a little bit less than the original state. There's the original state, but I moved the screen, so it's not going to be as obvious. 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's already super far away by the time it changes to this. And the 5th one is basically just for even extra optimization. But so when you're on top of a mountain, you still can kind of see it a little bit. Gives a little splash of color where it was. That could even be... Really, to optimize this the best, I should just change the model. Because right now that model still is 600 tries. And it really only needs to be, at this distance, it would only need to be about like 10. You know, 5 or 6 just blue triangles to represent the leaves. And then a couple just flat, skinny, gray planes sticking up. Which I might do in the future if I add like a 5th LOD. It actually might be better both ways because I could get bigger splotches of blue to show up. So right now there's not going to be... Well, you can kind of see the blue. Yeah. But I could keep closer to the silhouette with a much lower poly count. So this really isn't even close to as optimized as it could be. I could definitely bring it down to even 10% of the polys at the farthest distance. It might not really matter. This will work for now. Okay. Did I even export this one? I don't know. I think I did. Let's see. Going into Unreal. Got the alien willow here. First thing you want to do is just go to base LOD and the LOD settings. And oh, I forgot about hitting auto compute LOD distance. And the acorn one, I don't think. Yeah, that has to be shut off to make that work anyway, so here we go. I'm gonna uncheck that. That rarely works as default. And then import. And what is it called? Alien Willow LED 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We'll go 1. Successful. And then 2. Successful. Import level 3. And 4. And 5. So probably, guess that I might just, I really should do that right now. But I'm kind of curious to see how well this looks, how optimized it is. So it might be able to leave the farthest mesh. Say the average mesh LOD goes down to maybe, say 400. I got it down to 40. That's a pretty big decrease. I mean, everything that's past the furthest LOD render. I mean, if it was 100,000 polys, that would change it. I would change it down to 10, which is a pretty drastic difference. And it might look better because I can manually, you know, make the leaves bigger. The automatic decimation really only works the best for the first couple LODs. But after that, you're kind of better off manually making it at that distance, just so there's bigger spots of color and a lower poly count than the auto decimation can get. Alright, now I need to change all the colors, because for some reason, I imported the wrong one here. Curly triple, curly triple, curly triple. Shit. Yeah, this one is supposed to be... Where the hell did it go? Alien Willow 5. Why did that not... It's not importing the right material. I just want to see if it's even the right mesh. Huh, it is. Well, that's odd. I must have clicked something that made it skip that material. Let's change it to curly 2 triple. Curly 2 triple. There we go. And now the settings, which I'll make them the same as three-winged bird tree. 1.1.05. 1.1.05. And then 0.25, 0.125. 0.25 and 0.125. Okay, music's going a little loud there. And save that and see how that looks. Okay, first change is going to be about there, but it's fairly noticeable. It's either not working or it's fairly optimized. Yep, it is working. It's just you can't really tell. That one, the leaves get quite a bit bigger. I can't even tell when it switches to the next one. It's either not working or it's just really unnoticeable. Let's see. It goes from 9,000 to 6,000. 1, then to 3,000, then to 2, then to 1, then to 600. Oh, I screwed that up. E1 is 0.1. LOD2 is 0.05. LOD3, 0.025. LOD4, 0.0125. LOD5. Where did I have that set at? 0.0005. Might be too much. Yeah. I want to go to 2 zeros. Right. Where are you? Here's one. Three, 4, 5, 'It's tricky. I'm not gonna know until I have all the trees changed. Then I'm in the game walking around. It's gonna be different than the editor. Yeah, and I did want those to be 0.005. 3 zeros. So that's the extreme distance. Okay. I'll leave those both up. And over to the next tree. Which is the asparagus. Static mesh. Open that up. So that's the mesh that I want to mess with. It's called asparagus double. So in Blender, open asparagus double. Object mode. Modifier. Decimate that to 0.75. And apply that. Save as double LOD 1. And export it. Just the mesh. LOD 1. Let's make that 0.5. Apply that. Save as LOD2. Export. Mesh LOD2. Make this to 5 again. By that. Save as LOD3. Export as LOD3. And 2 more times over the 0.5, see what it looks like. Will work. By that. Save as LOD5. And export. Nope, that was supposed to be LOD4, wasn't it? Export. Yeah, LOD4. Export. Save this as LOD4. I'll overwrite 5. So this is the last modifier. Now 0.5 again. That's good. By that, file save as LOD5. This will overwrite the last one. And export as LOD5. Okay, then in Unreal, get to the LODs, go to import, import 1. You want asparagus 1. Open. And import 2. Asparagus 2. Asparagus 3. 4. Asparagus 4. Hope I had the right ones. I should just import these by themselves to make sure. But it's got the material on it, so that kind of verifies this the right one. And triangles also. Import 5. Asparagus double 5. And there we go. That goes down to 84 triangles from 1600. Then I gotta change distance. 1, 0.1, 0.05. 1. Take off auto first. 1. 0.1. 0.05. 0.25, 0.125. The auto settings were pretty close, but I want them to change at a little bit farther distance. It's harder to see when they change. 0.0005, that's the last one. And they're extremely far away. That's to keep the mountaintop panorama looking pretty decent. Stuff still looks good at a fairly far distance. Okay, and then can check it in the editor. We got, where's the double asparagus? There's triples. There's a triples everywhere. Where's my doubles? Well, let's see. Double asparagus. Double. Really asparagus double. We'll just fly to 1. That's not the right one. Oh, this is the right one right next to it though. Okay, let's see. Should change pretty soon. I'll highlight it. Yeah, I can barely see that first change right there. It goes from 1 to 2. 1 to 2. 3. 4. 5. And then really far away will be a 6 that you gotta be like halfway across the map to even see it. That's just to make sure it lowers a little bit once it gets down to just a few pixels on the screen. So it's not completely optimized, but it's better. It's getting close to a good blend of optimizing for frame rate and poly count and visual graphics. You know what I mean? I don't want it to go super low poly at like this distance, which would be best for optimization, but everything would look like shit. So you can kind of see the lines from this view disappear right there. But it's a fairly far, you know, that's pretty good. That kind of looks like shit. I hate seeing that. I'm gonna look into like, well, I'll test it and push it as far as it can go before it starts screwing up frame rate, but I also want to look into a way to get the LODs to change like blur into each other. Like instead of snap to a transform to the next LED, it starts to fade into the next one, and the other one fades. You know, one fades away at the same time the other one's fading in, so the opacity is always 100%. So it never looks transparent. You know, you'd start getting close, and the new LED would appear, but it would be at 1% opacity, and the old one would be at 99. And then it would go 2 to 98, 3 97, you know, and so on until it's 50-50. That transition would look much better. Than things wouldn't just pop into a different LOD as you get closer. I'm pretty sure you can do that. I don't know if there's like a built-in way to do it. I might have to use scripting, and I don't know. That might even be a thing where you gotta go into C+. That's okay. We'll figure it out. We're just trying to optimize it. The first stage of LODs to get the frame rate back up to 60, which it is, as long as I'm not looking in the direction of the floating mountain. If I look that way, it drops to like 20. That hurts. But I think what I'm doing right now will definitely, even though it could be even more optimized, this should be enough to keep it over 60. So this is going to drastically reduce the poly count of everything far away. It's going to go from, on average, 6,000 to 7,000 polys to 300 or 400. So even if it was 500 to 600, well, yeah, it's going to be a 10% drop, or 90% drop. It'll be 10% of the polygons at distance. And I could, by throwing one more LOD on there that has 10% of the LOD5, that would drop it down to 1%. So that's a huge difference. Dropping the poly count to 1%. I don't think I'll have any issue with balancing this. It's just going to take a while because I got to do this to every single item. And I really would only have to put one LOD, and I could just have it change when it's really far away. But it would be better to have at least a few. I mean, the more the better, really. Maybe Bart. Probably not, though, because this is going to take forever and there's no compiling. It just instantly happens, so there's nothing to wait for. But I'm going to take a little break here. And we just hit the hour mark, and I need coffee. Maybe I'll go 2 hours without a break next time. And then 3. We'll see. Probably going to be a long stream today. So I really want to get these trees working, optimized. And then I got the rocks to do after that. And then the pickup items. There's a good 100 items I have to do to this, so I'm gonna have to make, at this rate, 500 LODs. It's quite a few. And if I change any of the models, or when I add textures, I'm gonna have to go to every one of those settings. Throw the texture on 500 times. But that's game development. Alright, I will be back in like 10 minutes or so. Okay. So I was thinking the small items, like the pickup items, aren't gonna have as many LODs. It's basically the big ass trees that you see from a distance. Small items I could basically make disappear. They don't even draw. Just for the hell of it, I think I'm gonna go do that to one of them right now. See how that works. I'll go to the gourd. Let's see, gourd. Now let's go pick up items. With an empty wild gourd. New. We'll go with a full water gourd. What the hell is that? This one right here. That's in the editor, in the game when you start. I'll place it right here. That item, that's one that you can find already. You can pick it up, drink it. You don't have to make it, you don't have to fill it. It's already good to go. Put it right there. That's decent. Alright, and to change the LOD on this, I gotta find mesh. There it is. Can click that off. Mesh. It is called gourd. So I'll go to hey Dogfish, how's it going? You talking about this game? Yeah, it's not gonna be ready quite a while. 6 months to a year probably before it ever gets released on anything. Let's see. In Blender. Open. This should be in crafting items. It might be in food items. EFG. Yep. Nope. Where the hell is it? Is it in this? EFG. Oh, that's gourd plant. Oh, great. Where the hell is that file? Well, that's only in recent, so where? Let's go. Desktop. Crap, I don't know where I put this file. It might be called something different. It might be called water gourd. I think it is. Crafting items. Fuck. Gourd, where are you? Water gourd. There we go. It's called water gourd. And get into perspective mode. Alright. So first LOD, I'll just add decimate, change it to 0.75. Barely changes at all, which is good. Because I don't want that to be noticeable. And file, save as water gourd LOD1 in crafting items. It is, this technically isn't an item you craft. Well, it's not a crafting item, it's an item you craft. But proper folder. And then export. Just the mesh. WaterGuard LOD1, export. Then I can go decimate. We'll go down to 25. Apply that. File save as LOD2 in crafting items. And export mesh LOD2. This one, next one I probably want to be extremely small. So it'll almost disappear, but at a closer distance. And I think you can set the render distance just not in LOD, just somewhere else. Just it just won't even render until I get close enough, and then once it renders, it'll be the lowest. Because this you'd never see this on the ground from a mountaintop view. I'll look into that. Kind of why I'm skipping the trees and going to this for now. There. Apply that. And save as LOD3. Crafting items. Export. That's LOD3. Yep. Excuse me. Now here, on the gourd, go to LOD settings, not auto compute. Import 1. This is in crafting items. WaterGuard 1. There we go. And you have none of. Are you shitting me? Really? I gotta change all those? Alright. Why didn't that work? Let's see. Let's bring it in here. Import crafting items. WaterGuard. Import all. Did I? It has the slots. I think. I can't remember if there's a. Yeah, mesh. There's no material section. It should have imported the materials. It doesn't really matter. I just have to manually put them in now. It has the materials on it. I think what I did is I consolidated a bunch of colors that were the same and changed the name. So now it's all fucked up. Wait a second. Is that even? Yeah, that's less polys. Goes from 1500 to 13 or 1100. So I just gotta throw the cork material in here manually. And we got cork, gourd, rope, ring. Why do I have 2 ropes? Cork, gourd. Rope. Ring. Gourd, rope, ring, rope, which is the same, and ring, which is the same. That's not... That's kind of dumb, but it's fine. I don't know why that's split up. Okay, and I'll worry about the distance after I get the other two in. Import 2 in crafting items, LOD 2 and LOD 3. Cord, rope, ring, rope, ring. Oh, that. No, it didn't. What the hell? It worked on one, but it didn't work on the other. What the fudge? Stupid. Cork. Gourd. No. Gourd. Rope. Ring. Rope. And ring. So there's 2 ropes and 2 rings because on the actual mesh here, there's 2 ropes, kind of the one that's around it, and then the one coming off the ring on top. And the 2 rings, one's the ring on top, and the other are the 2 rings on the side. And I split it up just in case I wanted to change the color of one of the ropes. Basically, so I could have the top rope coming off the cork be a different color than the rope wrapped around the belly of the gourd, and the top ring in the cork could be a different color than these rings, but I don't know why I decided to set that up like that, because I like the way that it looks, all that color. Alright, and then the LODs. These are going to be different than the trees because this is such a tiny, or the distance, because it's such a tiny thing. I want probably simulate the bottom 3. So go 0.0005 on the bottom one. 0.0005. What the fuck? Why won't it let me? Alright. LOD1. That's 0. That's why. Let's see. And that's going to be 543, the same as 3.025. 0.025 and 0.0125. And the bottom is 3 zeros and a 5. Well, 4 zeros after the decimal, though. Save that. Alright, now let's see what this looks like. So, I'm going to highlight something else so it's not in the way. Here we go. Backing up from it. And it changes there. So that's even too close. Changes there, then it changes there again. Yeah, you can't even see those changes because it's already too small. And then, you know, about here it could just disappear. You can still see it though. So no matter how far away I am from it right now, even if I'm on the other side of the map, it's definitely going to be smaller than 1 pixel. It's still gonna be drawing somewhere in the CPU or memory or whatever. I don't know. It's gonna be rendering 290 triangles. So I could add one more LOD that's basically makes it invisible. Drops down to just a couple pixels, maybe just a square, you know, purple square. So you see something at this distance. You know, right now, if that's that little dot right there, that's like 300 polys drawing. Which it really only needs to be, that could be one square face, basically. Doesn't really get to look gordish. Still there, it's like one square. Here now kinda looks gordish. There maybe I'd want it to turn into the actual gourd shape LOD. So that's definitely something to think about. That might... There gets to be a point where it's irrelevant, it doesn't matter. You know, you can have thousands of polys drawing and it's not going to affect performance at all. It's when you get up to the hundreds of thousands and the millions, that's when shit hits the fan. So it might be fine if I just leave it right now, even though at this distance, it's still drawn 300 polys. And even if I have 100 of those around, that's only 30,000 polys, and in the larger scope of the game, that's 30,000 polys is nothing. You know, one mesh close up can be a, you know, 50 to 100,000 polys. But if I have too many things like that, that can add up. One thing I want to do though is check just draw distance. I don't even know where to look for that. You know, so it just disappears at a certain distance. I think it would be in rendering. Minimum draw distance, it might be there. No, max draw distance. So let's just put this up to test it. We're up to 5. Let's see happens. That's probably not even the right thing. That's only going to be the LODs, so it's probably not going to change at all right now. No, it's still changing, so does that need to be just... Wait, I don't want to change this file. What the hell am I thinking? I'm not even clicked on the frickin' gourd. So if I made these changes to this gourd, that would be dumb because it's gonna only affect this gourd, not the other gourds. It might be what I have to do though to get a draw distance, but I might be able to go to the root file, either, well, probably most likely the static mesh right here, not the blueprint itself, and this will affect all the blueprints. Where the heck would it be? That's like the import build settings. I don't think it'll have anything to do with LODs. It's just like whether the object draws or not. There might be a render setting here. Could be in the static mesh settings. No, probably not. There are no render settings. There are render settings on the blueprint though. check that out. Where are you, Gord? Alphabet. Gord. That's this one. The Gord itself. Why the fuck does that have so many damn materials? That is odd. Holy shit. That's fucked. 23 materials? I screwed something up. I don't think it's gonna matter though. Makes that kind of messy. I'll go back and sometimes I'll just sit down and say, okay, I'm gonna consolidate my materials because that gets dumb. It might actually screw some shit up when I go to render or to build the game. How do you even do that? Can't remember. Oh, the build settings here. When you build it, there can be conflicts between how many material slots there are and how many materials it's trying to fill. Usually only if you don't have enough slots. That definitely has enough slots. Okay, rendering. Tooltips. I like tooltips. Oh, there we go. This instance of the static mesh when calculating streaming information. It's going to be useful when doing things like applying character textures to static geometry to avoid them, using distance-based streaming. Allows adjusting the desired resolution of streaming textures. LOD. Let to override the minimum LOD. Static mesh asset. This minimum distance at which the primitive should be rendered. Measured in world space units from the center of the primitive's bounding sphere to the camera position. Max draw distance exposed to LDs. Real max draw distance is the minimum, disregarding 0 of this and volumes affecting the shape. Current max draw distance, the distance to call this primitive at. Detail mode. If detail mode is greater than system detail mode, primitive won't be rendered. Okay, the system detail mode is high. That should be low. I think it's going to be in minimum or maximum here. For some reason I can't wrap my head around which one it would be. Minimum draw distance. Oh, it's simple. It's a simple concept. Why can't I think of it? Minimum would be it only would draw once I get to a certain point. No, that's not right. I'm just gonna test it because I'm just drawing a blank. Third max draw distance. Let's see what 5 does. Compile that. And that is not disappearing. I'm not really sure. Is that just affecting the LODs? No, because those are changing. So how do I get that? What if I turn this? If I turn this to 4. Just want to get it to disappear, so that's going to give me an idea of how what number affects what. No, I just can't get that to shut off. Oh. That might only work when you play the game. It might not work in the editor. Is that it? I don't know. Let's see what they look like at that setting when I play. Inside the hut here. What a shit. Now I can't remember if there was any in there or not. More than just that one. It's laying on its side. Where did I have full ones? That's funny. I gotta come out and check. Okay, that hut. Oh yeah, see that did change it. All right, so there's one sitting there, and it disappeared. So minimum draw distance is 4. The max is 5. So it won't draw it if it's over 5 away, and it won't draw it if it's closer than 4. Right? So it has to be in between 4 and 5 units. But what the hell is that? It should just be 0 and set this up to like 10. So it shouldn't be there unless they get to a certain distance, and then it'll always be there. So unless 10 units isn't... Well, 10 is pretty small. I'm gonna go 100. See what happens here. So now I think I'll be able to see it if I'm standing about on the stairs. I really wish that was active in the editor preview. Like the LODs are. I can test that just by flying around. But here, that gourd is there no matter what. It only draws... I guess it's because it's a render setting. I really don't know. Alright, are you there, gourd? No, you're not there. Please appear. Why you no appear? Right, crank that up to 1,000 maybe. Might just be something else that this could be completely wrong. Not the setting I'm looking for. Is this the right spot? Yes. Why wouldn't that work? Nope, it's still not there. Oh, there we go. Okay, so that number, I didn't think 1,000 would be to the stairs here, because in other settings, that's only about, well, you know what, that actually might be 1,000. Because 100, no, 100, these are about 100 units apart from each other when you consider transform locations. So here would really be like 500 or 600. That's weird, but I guess it depends on scale of the object too. The distance scale, so I bet you this is about twice as big as the model that I brought in. But that's how I want it to be. I want it to disappear when you get a certain distance from it, but not until it's like down to about a pixel. And then instead of drawing 300 polys when it's at a pixel, it'll just stop drawing it completely. That should help optimize it too. Once I do that to many, dozens of items that are about that size, so there's no need for that gourd to be drawing when I'm up on top of a mountain here and I look across to that floating mountain. Those trees should draw, but if there's 20 gourds sitting in the buildings on that floating mountain way out there where the widget is, they shouldn't draw at all. That would be dumb. That would be thousands of polys drawing for no reason at all. So I was gonna see if the gourd in the editor is, well, this gourd, I was thinking it was about twice the size. That would kind of make sense. No, it's 800ths of the size. I made that gourd huge in Blender and just didn't even think about it until I brought it here, and then I scaled it down. Weird. The gourd itself, yeah, well, it doesn't have size because there's nothing to compare the size of it to. Yeah, I'm just trying to wrap my head around why 1,000 is that distance from the gourd to the stairs.